Hi guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing the next part for What If Oak Trained Ash. Now thank you quickly to Super Savage for giving me a quick call out in one of Ronin Charizard's chats. Don't remember which one, but I really appreciate it. It brought in a lot of viewers to this, and I can't thank you enough for that. Now, moving on, let's talk about what happened last time. Here we saw the changes to our timeline. Ash's new starter being a Nidoran, thanks to Oak actually being able to count in this timeline. And also, a battle between Ash and Gary which goes horribly wrong. Nidoran being bred from one of Oak's strongest Pokemon has led to it getting some uncontrollable moves, an ability no one knows. This led to Ash and Nidoran making a pact to never use that move again, or at least not use it until they both feel like they're ready. We now see our heroes heading off to Viridian City. Let's join them. After talking to one another, Ash and Nidoran head off to find another Pokemon. Ash explains his goal to Nidoran, saying how he wants to be the world's strongest Pokemon trainer. To do so he needs a team of strong Pokemon, but he already has another plan. He wants to capture a Pokemon of every type. Knowing type matchups better, he wants to make sure he can cover all of his grounds. So, he's already got a poison type. He just needs to go from there. So him and Nidoran spend a little bit of time looking around, and eventually they come across a Spearow. It gives Ash this weird look, and it interests him. The trainer pulls out his dex, which gives Ash a rundown on the mon. However, he already understood most of this. This is a Pokemon that showed up at Oak's ranch a lot, so he knows a bit about this Pokemon already. The Spearow takes fighting stance, and this interests Ash even more, and it almost taunts Ash to bring out whatever he's bringing. So, Ash calls on Nidoran, who runs out and heads straight towards the Spearow. Both Ash and Nidoran are a bit nervous thinking about their last battle, however, they aren't willing to give up. Ash, not wanting to wait around, already knows not to use Thrash, so he calls for the move of Poison Sting. Nidoran moves at full speed, rushing straight towards the Spearow. However, the attack goes wide. It seems like Nidoran was moving a bit too fast, or he just missed. With Spearow seeing an opportunity, it goes in for a multitude of pecks, doing a good chunk of damage into the Poison type, and actually makes Nidoran go flying away a little bit. Spearow lets out a victory cry, thinking it's already starting to win. However, Ash, seeing this, decides this Pokemon will be his flying type member for his team. As Ash shouts out to check on Nidoran, who shouts back, pulling itself up, Spearow is still continuing to celebrate, and Ash calls for a Leer. It quickly gets in the Leer, lowering Spearow's defense, as he then uses Poison Sting in quick succession. By the time Spearow realizes what's going on, Nidoran's already landed a direct hit. This sends the Wildmon skinning backwards a little bit, and Ash sees his chance for a ball. Just before Spearow can collect itself, the ball hits it in the head. It shakes once, twice, and then 3 times. Ding. Ash lets out a cheer as Nidoran runs over to the Pokeball, grabbing it and then bringing it back to Ash. Nidoran looks happy and is excited, and Ash says he saw its fighting spirit and its power and he knew he had to catch it. Nidoran almost nods in agreement as Ash praises his Pokemon for doing a good job, asking if it's alright. Nidoran nods its head, saying it's fine, and Ash and him spend a little bit of time celebrating their first catch. After a few seconds, they decide that they should call out the Pokemon and get to know it, with Spearow coming out of the ball and is very confused for a moment before turning to see Ash and Nidoran, and it takes fighting stance once again, using one of its claws to taunt Nidoran to come towards it. But Ash just chuckles, saying how they don't need to fight anymore. He introduces himself, saying how he would like Spearow to help him become the strongest Pokemon trainer in all of Kanto and all of the world. In return, he will help it reach its goal, whatever it may be. Spearow stares at Ash and then Nidoran before it starts punching the air with its claw, and Ash soon figures out that this Spearow wants to fight, so Ash says how it will help it in any fight it can, and make sure it's stronger than any other Spearow. Spearow hearing this thinks and nods in agreement to help Ash. The trainer cheers a bit with him looking at his 2 new Pokemon and realising something horrible. He has chosen 2 Pokemon which is really going to make his life against the first 2 gyms that he will come across a real pain in the arse. Thanks to him having become a bit smarter, he did some research of what the first 2 gyms he would come across would be, and unluckily for him it's a ground and rock gym, one in Viridian and one in Pewter. This is not the best for his poison flying Pokemon, but after thinking it through he decides he will spend a bit of time training with these 2 mons upon reaching Viridian City. So, the trainer and his 2 new Pokemon march on. They see multiple other Pokemon along the way, but none of them really catch Ash's eyes too much. He does attempt to catch 1 or 2, but he doesn't have much luck. And he spends a bit of this journey training and getting to know his 2 new Pokemon. He learns that Nidoran's quite energetic and loves to run around and have a bit of fun, whereas Spearow is very serious and enjoys a fight, but can be a bit cocky from time to time. Not long after sun has set, Ash arrives in Viridian City, where he checks himself in at the Pokemon Center, calls home and checks on Professor Oak, learning that Gary has already passed through Viridian. This annoys him a little bit, but he decides he'll catch up soon. He already wants to train a little bit to make sure that he can take on the next gym. After all, Gary got it easy, he's got a Squirtle. So, after night has gone through and they've all got some rest, the next day comes around, and Ash, for a change, gets up bright and early, where he heads to the gym to see when it's open, learning that currently the gym is closed and it won't be open for a little while. The kid is sad to hear this, but decides that he might as well try his luck at the next gym, as he heads out towards Route 22, where he begins his training. Originally he had hoped to fight other trainers, but after some thought he realises that in a fight against other trainers, if Nidoran was to lose control, there could be some problems. So for now he puts up the Nidoran up against his own Spearow. So for the whole day he and his Pokemon train on Route 22, only stopping to have a bit of a lunch break. And once night rolls around, they head back to the Pokemon Center and spend the night. After this one long day of training, his Pokemon have grown a lot stronger, and Ash's confidence has gone through the roof. During this time, Nidoran had no outbursts, and this helped Ash feel a lot more confident in his Pokemon. With the next day coming around, he checks Viridian City Gym just one last time, and it's still closed. The trainer's annoyed but already expected this, so he starts heading off towards Pewter City. So Ash begins his journey, soon arriving in Viridian Forest. The trainer knows that the next gym he's going to come across is going to make it a pretty hard battle for him, and while he might not have access to moves that will be super effective, he's hoping something will strike him on the way. Maybe a Pokemon he'll come across which will help. Now, because Ash is travelling through Viridian Forest a day late, he's not going to come across Caterpie, and also going to miss out some opportunities that he got in an original timeline, like Pidgeotto. But to be fair, he has already got a Spearow, and he already wants to make this Spearow the strongest it can be. This is his resident flyer at the moment. So for now, Ash hasn't caught anything here. Like normal, he would eventually come across Samurai, who shares the fact that he has fought every other trainer a couple of days back, and he has been wondering when the last trainer would arrive. The one with the Squirtle said he's pretty strong, and one of his Pokemon seems slightly interesting. Ash, knowing this to be Gary, is kind of interested that Gary shared some nice things about him. But then Samurai says how that trainer also said how he is the weakest of the group. Ash is annoyed, but is then offered to have a battle against Samurai. Ash originally is a bit apprehensive. After all, he's not sure how Nidoran will react. But he decides to actually take this challenge, thinking it'll be a good chance to feel out how an actual trainer battle will go. He's only had one so far, so having another wouldn't be such a bad idea. So, the two agree to have a battle. Samurai calls upon his Pinsir, and Ash calls for his Spearow. The Pokemon comes out and lets out a cry of battle, as the two Mons stare each other down, and Samurai makes the first move. He calls out for Pinsir to use a tackle, and the Mon moves much faster than Ash was expecting, as it lands a direct hit on Spearow, even after Ash demands it to move. Spearow collects itself and quickly gets up as Ash calls for a peck. The Pokemon gains some speed using its flight and then hits the big bug directly. Then he flies away, keeping a distance from it. Ash calls out for a Leaf and then calls for a Fury attack. The Pokemon does so. Pinsir, feeling its power drop a little bit, gets ready to take an attack. However, Samurai calls for a Vice Grip. As the Sky Pokemon comes flying down towards Pinsir, it lands two attacks with Fury attack, which puts Pinsir down on one knee, causing Spearow to start celebrating a bit. However, before it can celebrate too much or get too high into the sky, Pinsir jumps up, grabbing it with its talons, and beginning to pull it back down using its Vice Grip. Spearow, out of shock and pain, actually lets out a bit of a yelp. However, the Pokemon soon collects itself and starts getting ready to continue battling. However, both Ash and Samurai can see what's happening and understand the small bird won't last long in the claws of a Pinsir. Samurai tells Ash to call the match, with Ash even considering to do so. However, Spearow stares back at his trainer, giving him a determined look. Ash knows after the one day he spent with Spearow that the Pokemon is very determined and doesn't like backing down, and he understands that Spearow will not recall to its Pokeball right now. So, he decides to trust his Pokemon as he starts demanding Spearow to use multiple pecks on top of Pinsir's head. Spearow lets out a cry as it begins to peck away into the big bug's head. Slowly, Pinsir's grip on it is starting to weaken and weaken. Eventually, the bug falls to the floor. Sphero having won. However, the Pokemon is hurt very badly. Of course, it still lets out his victory cry, but then falls down. Ash recalls Sphero and thanks the mon for its help, telling it to get some good rest. After this, Ash and Samurai send out their next mons. For Ash, Nidoran, and for Samurai, Metapod. Samurai calls for a Harden straight away, as Ash calls for a Poison Sting. Nidoran rushes towards Metapod, hitting it quickly. As Metapod keeps using Harden, as the battle drags on and on and on, Nidoran using Poison Sting in quick succession. With something catching Ash's eye, seeing Nidoran missing the stood still Pokemon every now and again. Slowly, Nidoran is getting tired, but Metapod is clearly hurt, and one more strong attack will finish this. Ash isn't sure what to do. After all, his strongest attack is Thrash, and right now that isn't an option. But before the battle can finish, something begins to happen, as Metapod begins to glow. Soon, it begins to evolve. This catches both trainers off guard, as the very injured Metapod becomes a Butterfree, who still is very heavily injured, but has a new burst of energy, as Pokemon starts using Gust, then coming in and hitting Nidoran with a tackle, showing off to Samurai some of the new moves it has learned. Samurai feels a fire take over his stomach as he takes control of the match. He and Butterfree begin to throw Nidoran and Ash around with a combination of Gusts and tackles, even trying to stun sword the Nidoran. However, thanks to Nidoran's quick speed, it's able to avoid this quite easily. For a while, the battle continues, with Samurai and Butterfree holding the advantage, while Ash tries to come up with a strategy to get some height to hit Butterfree just once. He can tell that one more good shot will finish this battle, but the fact that Butterfree is keeping to the sky is putting him at a bit of a disadvantage. Ash comes up with an idea, and he thinks it will work. He calls for Nidoran to start running towards a tree at full speed. This confuses the Pokemon, however he trusts his trainer right now, as he begins to rush towards the closest tree, while Butterfree follows along behind the poison type. Once making it to the tree and keeping up his momentum, Ash shouts out for the Pokemon to run up the tree using its speed it's already collected. Nidoran's confused even further, but does so, as it starts to climb the tree using the speed it had built up. As he then tells Nidoran to jump off and hit the Pokemon with a Poison Sting, Nidoran finally gets Ash's plan as he jumps off the tree, actually breaking a lot of the bark, as finally Samurai understands what's going on. Ash calls for a Poison Sting, while Samurai calls for Butterfree to dodge the attack. The bug manages to maneuver its body in such a way that the Pokemon's head will miss, but Nidoran, wanting desperately to hit the bug, adjusts its body enough that it lands one kick on the bug, hitting it hard and even knocking the bug out. This makes Ash the winner, as both he and Samurai realise that that was a move that Nidoran has used. As Ash checks the dex and sees that Nidoran has just learnt Double Kick, he hugs his Pokemon and praises it so heavily, saying how that was an amazing battle. Soon, Samurai comes over and praises Ash, saying how the other trainers had actually told him that he might be the weakest of them, of those chosen to be Oak's sponsored. However, from this battle he can tell that he has truly trained his Pokemon in such a short time to be pretty strong, and he believes he will make a great trainer. Ash thanks him as he tells Samurai that they should battle again one day, as Samurai is amazing, telling Samurai that maybe they'll even meet up in the Indigo League. Samurai hadn't really thought about entering the gym challenge, but this does get him thinking, as Ash heads off towards Pewter City, where he wants to challenge his first gym. Now after a short trip he makes it to Pewter City. Once making it to the city, he does stop in a Pokemon Center after getting some food, and his Pokemon healed up. He decides he's going to head off and try the gym. He begins leaving the building when he accidentally runs into someone, knocking himself and the other person over. Ash begins to apologise very heavily, as the other person starts to do the same. Eventually Ash introduces himself, and asks where the gym is, thinking that he doesn't actually know. This actually gets a bit of a laugh out of the person who he just knocked over, who introduces himself as Brock, the former leader of the gym. However, he has literally just stepped down, not an hour ago. Ash is amazed to meet a gym leader in such a way, but is confused why Brock left. The trainer explains how he wanted to go on a journey, and hadn't actually had the means to do so for a while, but now he can, so he's planning on heading out soon to go meet up with a friend who had just left the city and head to Cerulean with her, but he will happily take Ash to the gym. Ash thanks Brock as the pair start heading towards the gym, where the pair actually get to talking. Brock learns about Ash being one of the trainers Oak sponsored, and actually realises that this is the last one he never got to fall. The others had come through and beat his gym, even the one with the Charmander, with a bit of effort, managed to do so. and is now interested to see what this kid can do. After all, the one with Squirtle did almost kind of speak highly of him, while also talking down on him, so it really confused Brock. As for Ash, he learns of Brock's history a bit more, learning how his father left him at a young age to take care of the gym, and also his mother and his 8 other siblings. So Brock never really got a chance to go on a journey for himself. Ash, hearing this, is interested to meet the person who has now taken over the gym again, with Brock explaining how his father has actually returned and has taken his role back. Soon the pair arrive at the gym, where the pair head in, seeing Flint getting back into the old habit of being a gym leader, moving some of the decor around just to make it feel a bit more like his gym. The leader, hearing the door open, goes to greet the people who have entered, but soon turns to see his son, asking why he's back so early. The former gym leader explains how this young man here is here looking for a battle against the Pewter City gym, Brock explaining how he just thought to show him where the building was. Ash introduces himself, explaining who he is, with Flint grinning to meet his first trainer, as he welcomes him to the gym, and asks the boy how many badges he has. The kid responds how he actually doesn't have any, and this will be his first official gym battle. Flint, hearing this, nods a little bit, is also a little bit upset his first battle he won't be able to go all out, but he's looking forward to helping guide a newbie into the world. He explains the rules of the gym challenge, saying how this battle, being so it's his first, will be on 2-on-2. Ash is allowed to switch in and out his Pokemon as much as he pleases, while he, the gym leader, cannot. Explains briefly how other gyms may have different rules and different terms, but for his first battle, this will be the rules. Ash nods as Flint goes on to say how this is his first official battle as a gym leader in a while, so he wants to make it count. Pairs get into their positions, as the ref goes to step up. However, Brock asks if he can referee this match. Being as though it will be his last match he sees in a while from the gym, he might as well make sure it counts, and also wants to see what this trainer has to offer. After all, the other Kanto bunch were quite interesting. Ash, hearing this, gets slightly nervous, but he holds his ground. Flint says how he'll send out his Pokemon first, then Ash can pick from there. Ash nods his head as Flint sends out a Geodude. Ash takes a moment and thinks before he shouts out his Spearow. Brock and Flint are kind of disappointed in the trainer. Brock more so, for the Pokemon trainer who was trained by Oak bringing a flying type to a rock gym. However, Ash has actually thought up of a plan and hasn't really shared it. Battle begins and Ash calls for a growl as he then tells Spearow to get airborne. Spearow then takes to the sky, having lowered Geodude's attack. Flint is confused and then figures out what Ash is planning as he calls for a harden and then a rollout. Ash isn't understanding what's going on, as Geodude then uses one of the rocks around the arena to gain momentum and go straight into the sky. Ash realises his plan of staying airborne won't work here, and soon Spearow is hit by a rollout, bringing the Pokemon crashing down towards the ground. As the Pokemon lands on the ground, Geodude starts rushing towards Spearow once again with another rollout. Ash calls for Spearow to dodge the attack, with it using one of its wings to quickly nudge itself out of the way, as Ash then shouts out to use another growl. The bird manages to do so, and this leads to the rollout breaking up, meaning it has to start another change. With Flint then calling out for a tackle as Geodude bounces towards Spearow, connecting once again. Flint tells Ash that he can't play defensively forever, and even rock types with their super strong defense have a great ability to attack. With Ash calling in to see if Spearow's okay, Pokemon nods, and thanks to Growl, the attack actually didn't hurt too much. Ash calls for one more Growl, telling Spearow to get airborne once again. The Pokemon does so, as Flint once again calls for a rollout. The Geodude, like before, goes up into the air and goes to hit Spearow while airborne, but thanks to Spearow expecting it this time, it manages to avoid the attack, and once Geodude starts plummeting towards the ground, Ash calls for Spearow to hit Geodude with a Fury attack. The Pokemon flies in, landing 5 attacks in on Geodude's face, not doing much damage there, but giving some more speed and momentum to the gravity pulling Geodude down, so when it eventually impacts with the ground, it hurts a lot more. Spearow, seeing this, starts to celebrate, beginning to almost taunt its opponent, and Flint sees this as an opening as he calls out for another rollout. This attack hits Spearow, who's too distracted celebrating. Ash realises he's going to have to train Spearow to get over this, but for now, he's going to work with what he's got. The attack does a lot more damage than the previous rollout, Brock even thinking this attack might have been a crit, and Ash, seeing Spearow is hurt bad, goes to recall it once again, but this time he stops just before doing so, He knows Spearow won't want to be recalled, much like against Pinsir, so he shouts out for Spearow to use Leer, while Geodude rolls towards it using another rollout. The attack now having built up some more power thanks to it being its second consecutive rollout. Spearow, seeing this coming towards it, isn't sure what to do. However, Ash calls for a Leer and then a Fury attack. Geodude's defense drops quickly, and then Spearow attacks it with a Fury attack. Thanks to the 3 growls earlier, Geodude doesn't have the strength to hold off this attack, and even though it does get some hits in on Spearow, Spearow actually holds off the attack just well enough. Of course Spearow is hurt from this, but it's still standing. Once the clash is over, Ash calls for Spearow to go airborne. The Pokemon does so, hardly dodging another attack as it takes to the sky. Flint shouts out for Geodude to chase after Spearow, with the rock doing so with a rollout up into the air. However, once Geodude is airborne, Ash calls for Spearow to grab Geodude by the arm, shocking everyone. Spearow does so, and grabs hold of the rock. The pair begin to plummet towards the ground as Ash calls for a Leer and then another set of Fury attacks, while Flint tries to get Geodude to shake Spearow off it. Geodude's defense drops once more as Spearow lands multiple Fury attacks in on Geodude. Ash isn't expecting this to do a lot of damage, but the next part he is. After only a few seconds of being in the air, soon a giant thud of Geodude hitting the floor is heard. A cloud of dust erupts, but only lasts for a few seconds, as the smoke clears and Spearow was shown to still be standing while Geodude lay knocked out on the floor. Spearow cheers out in victory as Flint and Brock are amazed Ash won that. Ash runs in and praises Spearow, who stands triumphant, but the battle must continue as Ash calls Spearow back, telling him to get a good well-deserved rest. And Flint tells Ash good job, he's impressed, but he won't be able to beat his next one. As he sends out a Rhyhorn, Ash is amazed to see the Pokemon and is nervous. Seeing how strong it is, he calls out Nidoran. At first, the 2 gym leaders are disappointed, but remember what happened last time, so they stay on guard. Flint makes the first move, calling for a Horn attack, which hits Nidoran dead on, sending him flying across the battlefield. Ash is amazed at Rhyhorn's speed, but doesn't want to wait around too much, as he sees Nidoran is okay and calls for a Leer. The Pokemon then follows it up with a Poison Sting, commanded by Ash. Nidoran happily follows along, and the Pokemon speed is a lot faster than Flint is ready for. The attack does hit, but does hardly anything to hurt Flint's Rhyhorn. He then tells his Pokemon to use Rock Polish. Its Pokemon glows slightly, and then Rhyhorn is told to use Stomp. Rhyhorn, moving faster than before, lands a massive Stomp attack on the Poison Pin Pokemon. This hurts Nidoran a lot, as Nidoran is stuck underneath Rhyhorn's giant foot. Ash starts to panic, seeing his Pokemon in pain. He isn't sure what to do for a moment, and for a second he thinks about calling for a Thrash, knowing this might get him out of this bind. When he looks at Nidoran, he shakes that thought away, and soon comes up with a better plan. He calls out for another Leer, then another Poison Sting, as the move hits Rhyhorn but doesn't do much damage. Then Rhyhorn glows purple, briefly, wincing out in pain and moving off Nidoran. Having been poisoned by the attack, Nidoran stands up, being badly hurt from just one attack, and Flint understands he's on a timer now, tells Rhyhorn to use another Horn attack, as Ash smiles, calling out for a double kick, and the 2 attacks clash for a second. Nidoran's first kick lands on Rhyhorn's horn, clashing the 2 away, as then Nidoran moves over the top of Rhyhorn, kicking the giant in the back, slamming it into the ground. Rhyhorn continues to stand as Flint realises Ash had a move ready for this gym. He calls for Rhyhorn to use Rock Tomb, and giant rocks begin to crash down all around the arena, and especially around Nidoran. Ash tells Nidoran to start avoiding every attack possible, and the Pokemon, using its top speed, begins to avoid all the attacks it possibly can. Some do graze him and do a bit of damage, but for the most part, Nidoran's speed is helping it avoid all the attacks coming towards it. Ash then sees a giant rock about to land on Nidoran, and comes up with a plan. He shouts out for Nidoran to jump up and use double kick. The Pokemon already knows what's happening, as it jumps upwards and kicks off the rock. Nidoran then begins to jump towards Rhyhorn, who isn't ready for the flying Poison Pin Pokemon to come straight towards it. Flint figures out what's going on, and calls for Rhyhorn to dodge. Just before it can move though, the poison inflicted earlier rears its ugly head and deals some damage to Rhyhorn, slowing it down temporarily, and allowing Nidoran to land a hit on the spiked Pokemon's head. This crashes it straight into ground and knocks it out. It takes everyone a moment to realise what's going on, but Brock soon declares Ash the winner. Flint walks over to Rhyhorn and gives it a couple of pats, telling it fought well, and next time they battle a trainer, they'll make sure to win. Rhyhorn lets out a weak roar as it's recalled to his Pokeball. Flint then walks over to Ash, explaining how he underestimated the trainer, and ultimately he paid the price for it, and that is why he is the victor. He can see a bright future ahead for Ash, and thanks him for being his first battle back, reminding him that type advantage and matchups aren't everything. Sometimes you just need your Pokemon's pure determination and a great strategy to win. With Ash thanking him for giving him such praise, as the gym leader hands Ash the badge, Ash celebrates as Flint does give the trainer some advice, and tells him how he should probably work on Spearo's cockiness. Ash already had understood this and thanks him for the advice, but for the most part it's praise for the boy, telling him to have good luck on the rest of his adventure, and Ash soon leaves, getting his Pokemon healed, giving them some food, praising them heavily. After a few minutes of doing this, he calls up Oak, and thanks to their close relationship in this timeline, Oak is proud of his student, but shares the fact that the others are actually way ahead of him, and Ash already knows this, and he explains how he'll catch up with them soon, but he had to spend some time making sure that Nidoran was alright. Oak, hearing this, catches up with the trainer, learning of what he's been through, and is proud to hear how far he and Nidoran have already come in such a short time, and is happy to hear that Ash has already caught a new Pokemon, telling him that Gary had actually caught quite a few Pokemon already as well, but he seems to be sticking to a certain select few. Ash is interested to meet Gary again for their next battle, but hearing how Gary already has a lot of Pokemon gives Ash a determination to catch something. He wants to fill out his team a bit more, and hopefully next time he'll have something to cover his weakness. Ash then gets ready to leave town after catching up with Oak and calling his mum. Once he leaves, he runs into Brock again, who asks Ash where he'll be heading next. Ash explains how he'll be heading towards Viridian City, and Brock decides to join Ash on his journey to the city, where he's going to meet his old friend, a redhead who had actually battled him recently, and in fact was his last battle as a gym leader. He's heading over there so they can actually adventure a little bit together. Maybe Ash would like to join them. Ash is interested in the offer as the two head off on their journey, and that's where we'll end this part, as we see Brock and Ash travelling together, much like in canon. And here, I hope people enjoyed. I know this part's gone on a lot longer than I wanted it to. I've actually cut this down a little bit as well, but for the most part I hope people enjoyed. I do have a lot of learning to do when it comes to Pokemon What Ifs. Hopefully I should pick it up pretty fast, and it might be even better for me to do so just through pure experience. Hopefully people enjoy, and let me know in the comments what you think Ash's future teammates may be. I already have a few ideas of what he's going to catch, and I think I already have his team planned out, but for the most part I hope people enjoy. Hopefully I'll see you all next time. Have a great day or a good night. See you next time.